Welcome to the Bear Talk, your go-to Chicago Bears podcast, where a father and son break down all things Bears, from Soldier Field to Sunday showdowns. I'm your host, Dylan Weaver, and I'm joined here with my dad. How you doing, Dad?
Doing great, Dill. How you doing? We got 15 games of NFL football, week one under our belts. A great game Thursday night, followed up with the thriller from down under down in Brazil on Friday night, and then Sunday. What a matchup to end it with Sunday Night Football. But what we're here to really talk about is tonight's matchup, the one we've all been waiting for. Bears versus the Vikings. Let's really find out what this team is made up under the leadership of Ben Johnson and all the coaches that they have. What do you think?
I'm excited for week one. Definitely was good. Football's finally here, the real football, the NFL, getting everything rolling. But the worst part is definitely sitting here all day waiting for, the Bears to finally play. But it was good to see it. I'm just excited now finally to see it, where it actually matters. And kind of like we talked about last episode, we're going to get a full scheme from Ben Johnson from start to finish. Ben Johnson is 4-0 against Brian Flores' defense. Granted, that's the Detroit Lions weapons. But, after watching the Packers and, Lions game yesterday, I think it's pretty evident they miss Ben Johnson. Like I said, you can have the same players, playing, but the coach is the one drawing up and scheming up what plays they're going to run, how they're going to beat them, adjustments. And the Lions had no answers yesterday, absolutely none. So I'm excited to see Ben Johnson, use our players that, with their skill set and draw up a game plan, to go beat the Vikings.
Hey, depending on the outcome for tonight, I think BJM is going to be the slogan for the week for Ben Johnson Matters. I mean, that Detroit offense out there was horrendous. And talk about Aaron Glenn, too, right? The defensive coordinator that left the Lions. That Lions defense had no answers for that Packers offense, which has me concerned, and we'll talk about later, but let's don't get ahead of ourselves. But I'm really excited for the game tonight. It's like Christmas Eve, Bears Eve, we'll call it, as we're waiting for the game to take place tonight, all the way at, 8 p.m. where we're at today, which, as you can tell, we're together this episode. So we're on a remote location in the Smoky Mountains. We were looking for bears, and sure enough, we saw lots of them while we've been here so far. Some a little too close for comfort, but hopefully the bears we saw will have the same impact on the Vikings and make them shake in their boots a little bit as well. But the game tonight should be really, really interesting. I'm excited to see what Caleb Williams can do. There's been a lot of negative media out there the last few days concerning Caleb Williams. Tonight's his night. Tonight's his night to make all those people shut up and go away, which is what it's about, right? Results matter, and I believe he's going to deliver it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this game is kind of going back to week 2 in the preseason against the Buffalo Bills. The week before, Ben Johnson decided not to play the starters, and the media all that week was Caleb Williams should be playing. He needs to play. Ben Johnson's holding him back. He's protecting him. And then week 2, he went out there, silenced the media, had that amazing, opening drive, went in the second drive, had the same thing, just a couple drops by, our wide receivers. But Caleb went out there and looked amazing, and the media had nothing to say but, jump on his side. Same thing this week, like you were mentioning, that Tyler Dunn article coming out. I think it came out late yesterday evening, and, everyone's now jumping back on it. Oh my God, Caleb Williams is the problem. His attitude, he was disrespecting coaches, and it all matters. It comes down tonight. Go out there. Ben Johnson's going to draw up a good, game plan for him. Go out there, execute the plays, do your job. And, when you need to do your magic that he has, go do it. But definitely excited. We can hop in to, the injury report. There is some key players that we definitely need to talk about from both sides, including the Vikings as well. We can start off with the Vikings. Harrison Smith has officially been ruled out as of yesterday. He looks like he's dealing with some sort of illness, which must be a pretty bad, illness. So thoughts and prayers with him, but he's not traveling with the team due to that illness. So he will be out, which we can talk about that a little bit before we jump into some of the Bears injury report. But not having Harrison Smith, their safety out there, he's definitely not as fast and, as athletic as he was when he was younger in the league. He is he's a big veteran out there, but that veteran presence of knowing where to be, that makes up for, the speed and everything kind of going downhill as he comes to the back of his career, because he's that safety is the last line of defense back there. They're kind of like the quarterback on defense. They can kind of tell the corners if they're off position, where to readjust to, communicate to everyone. They're like the eyes back there overseeing everything. So I think that is a pretty big loss for the Vikings. But, on the flip side, the Bears look like they could be missing a couple of people as well. We'll start off with TJ Edwards, who has already been ruled out with his injury. So we have heard that we're going to see a lot of Ruben Hippolyte, our rookie 5th-round pick. So I'm super excited. Obviously want TJ Edwards out there. That guy led us in tackles last year, a season ago. But I think Ruben Hippolyte, this is a good opportunity for him to show, that he can go out there and play. He's very fast, and now it's just going to be a lot about, reading the quarterback, watching for the play actions, and, just filling that hole when the running back, gets the ball. As far as the other injuries go, Jalen Johnson last week showed up. We finally got to hear about his injury. Was originally a groin injury. He came back to practice, was practicing. A couple days later, a calf injury now pops up. So he is questionable, which is going to be a game-time decision. Kyler Gordon also just popped up on the injury report yesterday, the final one before the game. He's now questionable with a calf injury as well. I believe those are our two big ones. Cal Monunga, I know, is now off the injury report, and it's good to go for week 1, which is good news to hear, because our running back room is already pretty thin as far as not having much depth. So that was intriguing to see, but we can talk a little bit. You give your thoughts, on some of these injuries. Do you think they're going to play? Do you not think they're going to play?
Yeah, I think you covered the stats, right? You covered the facts of what's going on with the injury report. Here's the thing that comes to my mind. We used to be the monsters of the Midway, right? And when we went to the Super Bowl in '85, our defense was phenomenal. Granted, we had a great running back in Walter Payton. And then you think about when we went again in 06, right? Statistician mass master.
Yeah.
That was also another great defense, with Urlacher and Briggs on there. And, we really kept those offenses to low scoring games. That's how we won a lot of the games. And we had game managers. Now I look at this Bears offense we have, right? So thankfully we don't have a lot of injuries on there. We got a little bit of questions with the left tackle. But I think you put all the pieces together, it's going to mask some of the opportunities that, Braxton has. But I think we're going to go ahead and go out there and score. It's going to be a high-scoring offense where the defense isn't going to matter. I think about the game last night. You had the Bills and the Ravens going at it. There wasn't a lot of defense out there. It was score, and it's pretty much who has the ball last. And I think that's what this game may come down to, barring all the injuries. I know we got Jordan Addison, who's not out there, and we got some other opportunities as well with the Vikings. But from our team and the injury report that's out there with Ben Johnson leading the charge, we know what that Lions offense did under him the last 2 years and the scores and the points he put on the board. So now you take a look at our team overall with the number 1 draft pick, top 10 wide receiver, Colston Loveland, you got DeAndre Swift, you got Cole Kmet. We have a high-powered offense. And I don't think the defense is going to matter. I think it's going to be a different era. I think the Bears have always been about defense, and that's what wins games. But this is today's NFL, and it's all about high-scoring offenses. And I think we're really going to put all those weapons to the test. You'll see Caleb go for over 300 yards, throw a few touchdowns in there, and we won't have an opportunity to even worry about the defense because we'll just outscore. It's who gets to the goal line first, who can score first, and obviously who can score last and beat them. And so that's my opinion on the injury report, that the offense is going to cover up and help out that defense.
Yeah, I mean, the defense, definitely scares me just because I do think Jalen Johnson is going to end up playing just because he's been, dealing with this injury. And I think he's, been preparing. I don't think he's going to want to go out there and personally miss week 1. So I think he will be out there. He wants to run around with Justin Jefferson. However, though, back in the beginning, Dennis Allen did say that he was going to have Jalen Johnson all season long follow game to game their wide receiver one and just match him the whole game. But Jalen's still dealing with this injury. I don't think he's going to be quite at 100%, but I do think he's still going to be out there. And I just think they're going to play their sides. A lot that goes into that too is Jalen Johnson just started practicing again last week. There's conditioning that goes into it, especially when you're running around with a guy like Justin Jefferson. So I think Tyreek and Jalen are just going to play both of their sides. And, whoever's over there, that's who they're going to be guarding, which could be a little bit of a problem. Kyler Gordon is the one that kind of scares me just because he did just pop up on the injury report yesterday. So it's kind of like it's a day before the game or 2 days before, and you're popping up on the injury report. And depending on the severity of that, that's not really enough time to really – because their last practice was Saturday. So all he has now is a pregame warm-up. So depending on how serious that calf injury is, it could definitely mean Kyler Gordon misses week one. And Dennis Allen has talked about Kyler Gordon on a high level and how he's going to make him play nickel. He's going to make him play cornerback, safety even, and have him all over the field like a chess piece, just coming from all different directions. So if he's not playing, it's definitely a huge loss. I kind of do agree. I do feel like even if Jalen or Kyler, one of them isn't playing, I do feel like we have, enough pieces around. And like you said, it's an offensive league nowadays. Yes, you obviously want a defense, but at the end of the day, it's about, can you go put more points up than the other offense? And that's what the league's kind of transitioned to. And that's why you see more of a passing, NFL in today's game instead of back in the day, it was run the ball 2 times, then a pass, run the ball 2 times, then a pass. It's changed quite a lot. And I think it's for the better. Yes. Just like yesterday, I love watching Derrick Henry break runs for, 80 yards and take him to the house. But at the same time, it doesn't happen that quite often, and that's the reason he is Derrick Henry. But I think we should be all right. The good news, I guess we could say, is there is no injuries on offense, which is a great start, especially that O-line. This Brian Flores defense is a nightmare to go against, especially in week one, where there's no tape of them. In our power too, there's no tape of our offense, but this Brian Flores defense still lined up 9 guys on the line. You don't know who's coming. You don't know who's dropping back. And it can be a lot to handle. And that's why I think, a big part of this game that I'm going to be paying attention to is seeing how fast the offense gets out of the huddle on every play to the line of scrimmage. They should be getting up there with about anywhere from 15, to 16, 17 seconds. So that way Caleb can get up there. He calls in his checks and motions to see, are they following? Are they in man? Are they in zone? He can also use his cadence, which Ben Johnson has praised him on, has gone a lot better, but his cadence as well you can use. So that way, he's acting like he's going to send the ball using his cadence. It will force whoever on Minnesota is actually coming. They usually try to get that head start and come, and you can kind of see who's coming, who's not coming. That way Caleb can also adjust, shift his protection. The line needs to shift to the left, to the right on the protection. If it's a pass play, same thing with the run play. I just think Caleb has a lot on his plate tonight, and I hope he's ready for, the challenge. And I think, Ben Johnson is definitely Ben Johnson's going to give him the answers he needs. Now it's for him to go out there and execute. But super excited.
What a better way for the done report to be done by Caleb Williams going out there and showing him what he's made of. We drafted number 1 overall for a reason. It's really on him. I think of all the quarterbacks we've had over the years, and we always, we blame the line or we blame the QB if they're a manager of the game. I really go back to the Trubisky season when we made it to the playoffs, and we got mad at the kicker, right? Cody Parkey, double doink. No one talks about that Trubisky didn't throw up any touchdowns in that game, right? So, and Cody Parkey, I think, threw up four field goals in that game. He missed the big one at the end. So this is the perfect opportunity for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams to come out, put the Dunn report done, pun intended, get rid of it, and really show him what he's made of. That's the way I look at this game tonight. And if it goes the way I think it's going to go, we all wake up tomorrow a little bit happier, especially because it is a big test, right? Brian Flores is heralded as a defensive guru, and what he's done, not only when he had Miami, speaking of that train wreck, but also, what he's done since he's been with the Vikings with that defense. So it's a great test. I'm really pumped for it. Like I said, I can't wait to rip the bow off and get the package off of this thing tonight, and really see where we go. But we have enough offensive weapons. And if you think about the draft, right, there was a bunch of other needs we needed in the draft, and we went to offensive players right off the bat with the first and second pick of the draft. And I think that's Ben Johnson calling the shots there at Hallis Hall, and he wants to build a high offense, system that we're out there just scoring points. And Dennis Allen can, if he can manage the defense, then we're going to be okay. So I would say don't worry about the defense tonight. I think like you said too before, they're going to play a lot of man under Dennis Allen, so we're going to have those big plays that we give up potentially. But it really comes down to Caleb Williams and throwing that ball. And speaking of Caleb Williams, I thought I'd bring this in. Trading cards. Who doesn't love trading cards? I'll bring this in. QB1, 2 of 5. Found that while we're down here in the Smoky Mountains preparing for the game. So if you like trading cards, drop a comment. I love trading cards. I think they're a fun way to keep up with the game. And there's some interesting stuff out there. So we'll keep going, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, definitely some keys to the game. We can kind of jump into some keys to the game. I know you kind of touched on, what you're not worried about, but we can go a little bit more in depth to the keys to victory for the Bears. I can start and you can follow up with one. I'm just going to start with the run game for the Vikings. Aaron Jones is a bear killer. Every time we play him, he's out there making plays, running all over us, whether that's in the passing game, running game. Shout out to Steven from CHGO, their producer, who mentioned this stat. He said Aaron Jones has played the Bears 15 times in his career, and he is 14-1 when he plays the Bears. And it's not 14-1, Aaron Rodgers throw these, touchdown passes. Everyone else was doing everything. No, most of those games, Aaron Jones is over 100 yards, has a couple of touchdowns. I don't know what it is when he plays the Bears. He's in a different mode. And that is the key, the first key. And I think it's the most important key of the game, because you shut down their run game. Guess what? They have a rookie quarterback back there that really only has TJ Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson to throw the ball to. And we can put all the pressure on him. And on top of that, if our D-line is getting the pressure, in the run game, and then we start getting to J.J. McCarthy in the passing game, he's going to make some desperate throws, make some bad decisions. It's part of being a rookie quarterback. And that's when the Bears defense can really take over for this game. And I do think the Bears defense could be a big part in winning this game, especially if they get a couple big takeaways in there. I hope at least we can get one, all training camp and the joint practices. We picked off 2 or 3 times, which after watching the game yesterday, really not that impressive. However, though, we also picked off Josh Allen 3 times, and Josh Allen, looked like he's right, back on track to go win back-to-back MVPs after week 1. So I think our defense is definitely, due to get a couple of takeaways. We should definitely at least get one, in my opinion. But that's my first key, is stopping that run game. What's a key you have for the game?
I got a few keys, and you're just going to give me some answers on these.
All right.
Caleb Williams, where was he drafted?
Number 1.
Overall, right?
Yep.
Where was DeAndre Swift drafted? Just give me a round.
3rd?
Second.
Okay.
Cole Kmet, where was he drafted?
3rd round.
2nd round. High pick overall, 2nd round. Colston Loveland, where was he drafted?
1st round.
1st round. Tooney, what is he right now? He's had 2 years of being what?
All pro.
All pro. Dahlman?
He's probably a top 5 center easily.
Easily, right? We paid him a lot of money. Jonah Jackson.
He's an interesting one, but he's looked good so far. He's dealt with injuries, but overall, Ben Johnson knows him from the Lions, and that's where he played most of the time. Then he went to the Rams last year, got an injury in the beginning and never really got a chance to play just because the injury kept him out. But in Detroit, he was good, and so far, I haven't, inside of camp, I haven't heard any reports about it being a huge problem. So,
Darnell Wright,
top 10 pick
from the Volunteer State. Yeah, we're right near there. Yeah. So Luther Burton,
2nd round pick.
All right. Rome Odunze,
1st round pick.
Let's see who else we can throw in there. DJ Moore.
That was probably a 1st round pick.
Was he a 1st round pick? I don't know if he was a 1st round. We'll look that one up. But so far, I've heard 1st and 2nds, right? 1st and 2nds and all pros. That's what our offense is built up. If you have an offense built like that, you throw up 300 yards, you rush for 100, and you have multiple scores in the game. Those are my keys, right? Everyone's focused on the defense and the injury report. And then top it off, Ben Johnson. How much did we pay him?
A lot of money.
$65 million. He's being paid throughout this contract, I believe, for the next 5 years. And we know the last 2 years, what was his offense ranked?
Number 1 in EPA.
So I hear a lot of number 1s, a lot of number 2s, and it's all on paper. Now, granted, it's on paper. They got to go to the field. They got to produce. There's gonna be things that happen in the game. Defenses can create wrinkles and create opportunities. But if you're not excited for hearing a number 1s and number 2s and all pros, and you don't think they have a shot to win tonight and decisively, then I think you're thinking old school football, right? When it comes to, again, I go back to the Monsters of the Midway. It used to always be about the defense. It used to be who's our middle linebacker, who's calling the plays on that side of the ball, and are they going to be able to hold them to 13, 14 points, maybe 21 if depending on what the game was or the makeup of the game was. It's a different year, and I think the excitement should be there for it's a different year. Now, I may be crying at 12:05 in the morning tonight if it all turns out to bust. But the other thing, too, is Caleb, right? 68 sacks last year?
Yeah,
68 sacks last year. If he can get rid of the ball, then we don't have to worry about it, right? And I just showed you my key points, the number 1s and the number 2s that are on this team. This isn't some hobbled together, the pantry's bare, I went and grabbed some green beans and some macaroni or elbow macaroni and tried to throw something together to make a dinner. I mean, we're talking filet mignon when it comes to, draft quality. Granted, it's got to produce, right? And at the end of the day, it should be a decisive win. We should tonight, at the end of the final tick off the clock, go, holy cow, we haven't seen an offense like that with the Bears. And we go back to Caleb Williams in his rookie year. Underneath, Eberflus, and we saw that Cowboys game, right? I mean, that game was what it was, right? And I think that was a little bit Eberflus, and I'm not really wanting to throw shade at him. But that coaching staff we had last year, regardless of whatever the Dunn report says, we have an all-star coaching staff. I mean, every name you can go down and list. Last year, if it wasn't for Hard Knocks, I couldn't tell you, 3/4 of the coaching staff people on there. But this year, obviously, we have a lot of high caliber names on that coaching staff. And not only those who are great coaches, but those who have proven themselves in the league before. If you think about Eric Benemini, Ben Johnson, Antoine Randall, Harris, Dennis Allen. The list goes on and on. So you talk about key points. There's so many key points to the game that there's no reason we shouldn't come out with a win. And if you disagree with us out there, you don't think those number 1s and number 2s are going to be the difference, I think you got to let us know, right? And you got to put in the comments what you think. But obviously, number 1s, number 2s, and maybe you wait till 12:05. Maybe you're not feeling as optimistic as we are, and maybe we lose the game. and then you want to come in afterwards and drop a comment then and say, I told you so, have at it. That'll be a lot of fun, and we'll get some banter going back and forth. But number ones and number twos, that's all we got.
Now that you bring that up, that is an interesting point. And I'd wonder if you went down, the NFL offenses down the list, how many of them, have ones and twos, in their starting lineup and what draft they're taken at. One thing I am going to put a halt to, because you're disrespecting my boy, you forgot about Olamide Zaccheaus. And, I'm almost positive he was either a really late round pick or an undrafted free agent. And we signed him in the offseason for $1.5 million. And I'm telling you right now, Olamide Zaccheaus is a key factor to this game. This guy is an X factor. I get enough slack from my dad every time. He's like, calm down. It's just Zaccheaus. This guy is going to be a game changer. I'm telling you, if you sports bet out there, you hop on the books, if there's a place you can go, I haven't quite checked this out yet. I do know Olamide Zaccheaus' line and the normal over unders, it's not out there, but there is a prop on FanDuel you can do where you can pick the player who's going to get the most receiving yards in the game. I'm telling you right now, if Olamide Zaccheaus is on that list, throw a little 10, 15 bucks on that. This guy is an X factor. We've heard it all training camp. He's the one catching the majority of the balls from Caleb Williams. And it's not just he's catching 5-yard passes. He's stretching the field. I think a lot of people are not ready for Olamide Zaccheaus. And as much as I am ready to see Luther Burden, and I know they talked about this week how they built in packages for Luther Burden, so he has plays where he's going to be in. I just think this is Olamide Zaccheaus has proved why he deserves to be here. And good on Ryan Poles for finding this guy. $1.5 million for 1 year. This guy has already been worth more than $1 million for 1 year. This guy, I promise you, is going to be the X factor. He is going to get that passing game going. I really do feel like he's going to be – we saw it. We saw it in week 2 against the Bills. He stretched that long 40-yard touchdown. And, I mean, that's the thing with him, too. He catches that ball. If you're not within 2 yards of him, he's kind of like DeAndre Swift. He's going to weave in and out of you, and he's gone. I really like Zaccheaus, and I think he's getting underrated. It should tell you, too, the books are scared to even put his line out there because he has no line. They won't put it out there. Because I'm telling you right now, if they put that anything under 30 yards, I would probably hammer the house on it. I'd bet my mortgage. Olamide Zaccheaus is the truth.
I just want to tell you, I checked with my digital assistant, DJ Moore, first-round pick. There's another first-rounder, 24th overall, that he was drafted. So I've just covered the O-line, the quarterback, the wide receivers, the tight end, and the running back.
Well, hold on. There's 2 people. The O-line, it would definitely have to see where they were drafted.
I didn't check with. I didn't check on Braxton.
Braxton's a fifth rounder.
But we're talking about proven players, right?
Yeah.
Tony, Dahlman, Wright. We know was first.
I think it's a good thing, like you said. The one hole we have on offense, it's Braxton Jones.
Yeah.
And it's not that I would say it's a wide open hole because, for a 5th-round pick, he's been serviceable in years prior. And that's with not having Joe Thuney next to him. I'm just hoping Braxton Jones can get his footing under him because I think he will suffice for this year, definitely, as long as he's healthy because he's already proven it in years prior. Him and Darnell Wright, the past 3 years were the only guys we really could rely on. It was our interior that would get bulldozed, and there's nothing they could do. They didn't have that much help. But now with this interior, it's so cool to look back on now and how most Bears fans, we all miss this. They loaded up the trenches in, free agency, trades. They got all these interior on both sides of the ball, on the offense line and defense line. And in the draft, everyone's like, first pick, they're going to take a left tackle if Genty's not there. We all missed it. Ben Johnson got proved guys in the league to get those interior on both sides of the ball. And then he said, you know what, in the draft, I'm going to get my weapons in the draft. And we were all, if everyone can take a moment of honesty and reflection, we were all shell-shocked. When Colston Loveland got drafted, not even at first that we didn't know if it was the right pick. We just were all like, a tight end? We weren't expecting this.
Especially that tight end.
Well, that tight end.
Everyone thought Tyler Warren.
Which Tyler Warren, speaking on him a little bit, he did have a good rookie debut. I think he had 7 catches, 76 yards when I was looking yesterday. Good debut out of him. I think him and Colston Loveland are both going to be great. The Colts looked great. So, I mean, his stats, were up there. I think they destroyed the Dolphins. It wasn't even close. But
here's what I would say, though. There's a saying out there, right? If you hang around 9 people that are successful, you're going to be the 10th. So if you look at everything out there, and we just went through all the draft statuses of them, which is going to lead me to another point here in a second. So like you said with the O-line, we have some proven people that were brought in. We got some number 1 draft picks on that line as well. Braxton, yes, is a 5th round. But if you're hanging out with 9 other great people, you should be the 10th. They should be able to elevate his game. Maybe not first-round caliber player, all-pro play, but gelled together, they should be able to elevate his play and not, there's only 11 people who can play on the field at the time. He should be able to elevate with those other people around him. If they can't, right, and we got 1s and 2s, then I tell you what, draft picks don't matter. Then you trade the farm, you pick up Micah Parsons, because then 1s and 2s don't matter anymore. Then you just pick whatever and you do whatever you got to do. But I'm a firm believer. We just went through all those offensive players and their draft statuses, what they've done in college, what some of them have already done in the pros, and what Ben Johnson can do. Because think about it. We talked about, all right, BJM, Ben Johnson matters. You look at that Lions game yesterday, Jared Goff didn't look like Jared Goff from last year. Amon St. Brown, did we hear his name yesterday? A couple times?
I will say from that game, the only Lions player who looked like he wanted to play was St. Brown. He caught plenty. There were several 3rd downs that he was the only one. He was making plays. I'll be honest. The only player I thought that actually played good was Amon-Ra St. Brown. His name wasn't getting called a lot, but at the same time, when the plays mattered and they did need first downs, his was the name getting called. Everyone else was catching the balls. Most of them. Sam Laporta had a pretty good game too yesterday, I would say, but the rest of them, they just didn't look. They looked like they missed their offensive coordinator. I think Lions fans, they not saying the season's over. The Packers, the way the national media thinks they're a Super Bowl contender, which yesterday it did look like they were.
They scare me.
But we will also see, the Bears play the Lions in week 2, and we'll kind of get to see a good test of where we kind of stand at the start of the season within the division. But I'm just super excited to, see all these pieces finally, get to play together, especially the O-line, because Joe Tooney hasn't played yet. They kind of saved him. He's a veteran. So I'm excited to see the O-line and especially Braxton Jones, because even in the preseason, he was out there with Luke Newman, one of our other draft picks from this year, a rookie, which he played good, but it'll be cool to see him with Joe Tooney and see how – I think it's only going to improve having Joe Tooney next to him, kind of helping him out.
Over under 300 yards for Caleb tonight. I'm putting you on the spot.
That's tough. I'm going to say the under. I think he's still going to have a great game. I can see him around the 240 to 250 range. I think Ben Johnson's still going to be explosive. You're going to see those explosive plays, but I also do think you're going to see him establish that run game and take some of that pressure off of Caleb. Caleb did have some of his best games against the division teams last year. I believe he threw against the Vikings that one game when we came all the way back. And a miracle, he was over 300 yards. I wouldn't be surprised if it is over 300. I just think Ben Johnson's going to scheme up more of a detailed plan instead of, the Bears are down like they were last year, and Caleb, you just run around and do whatever. And that's the thing. Last year, you saw so many little screen passes. From Luke Getsy to Shane Waldron, we thought the screen passes couldn't get any worse. It got infinitely worse. We would only see the ball go 2 to 3 yards down the field because we're calling screen passes every play of the game. I believe there was a game last year. I forget what it was, but it was late in the game. We're backed up. Yes, we're backed up in our end zone within like the 10-yard line. And we called 3 plays, 3 and out. I can't – I like the quick passes when it's the right time. I'm done seeing 5 or 6 of them a game. Let's see 3 to 4 of them a game. Anything over 5 to me is insanity. Especially, it drives me insane because the ball takes a good amount of time to get to the receiver to the outside. And by then, these cornerbacks are so fast that they just run through the blocks because the receivers aren't used to always blocking somebody, especially when they're running at them full speed. When the receivers usually block in the run game, they're getting the advantage of getting to them first before they even know it's a run play. Instead, on these stupid screen passes, these DBs come flying right into the receiver, and they almost rarely ever worked out. It's so hard of a play. Now, I do like the screen passes in the run game where it's a play action, DeAndre Swift and a couple of linemen, that type of. The ones to the outside, though, enough. I know one play we are going to see because I've seen Ben Johnson do it with St. Brown, and it is one of those screen plays. But Amon-Ra would always line up on the farthest out, wide out, and they would have 2 receivers there, and he would come in, catch the ball, the 2 receivers get the 2 cornerbacks, and then the whole O-line comes flying down in front, and it's like a convoy. I'd love to see that with DJ Moore.
Speaking of DJ Moore, over under 3 carries out of the backfield in this game.
Oh, over.
You're going over 3 carries.
Yeah, 100%. We've heard too much. I don't even care that the running backs were hurt and DJ Moore was filling in, but we also heard when the running backs were healthy, DJ Moore was still already practicing. This was like week 1 at training camp. The media was already saying they saw DJ Moore taking carries out of the backfield. Now, this is where Ben Johnson's, gamemanship comes in. Is he, purposely doing this to get the Vikings to think about it, and he's not actually going to ever do it? Because that's what defensive coordinators got to do, especially week 1. You have no film. You're going in there off of last year's film. And to be honest with Ben Johnson, he said he's going to involve this offense around Caleb. So, yeah, they probably have some similar plays to Detroit, but a lot of it's going to be some newer stuff that revolves around Caleb Williams. And I did see, that article. I forget who wrote this article, but it was out of ESPN. And Ben Johnson spoke with one of them and got some sources this week. But Ben Johnson did say about using Caleb a lot more out of the pocket type stuff. And I do think it's a hint at what we're going to see tonight. A lot of play action boots where we can see Caleb run, pass, do a lot of different stuff out of that.
So you're telling me the coach is going to play to the benefits of the quarterback to make him more productive?
I know. It's about time.
Holy cow.
We've been missing it in Chicago for a while. It's definitely been something that we've always harped on. Like, why aren't we just playing to our players' strengths? Even when it was back in the day when we didn't have a complete roster or we had, missing pieces. It was the same thing we kind of saw with Justin Fields. And shout out to Justin, played a great game against the Steelers yesterday and a tough loss, but he still played great. But when Justin Fields was here, we didn't start doing RPOs with Justin Fields until like week 8 of the season. Like, Justin Fields is a running quarterback. You see how Lamar plays? It's easy. You go replicate that with Justin Fields because they're about the same. Lamar Jackson can hit a receiver wide open. And the reason why Lamar Jackson receivers are always wide open is because they're so used to him or Derrick Henry running the ball that when they actually pass it, they're open. And that's kind of the same game plan that the Bears should have done when Justin Fields here. But the past is the past. We love Justin, love watching him play. No bad blood for him. But
tough question. Since you brought up Lamar, I got to ask a tough question. If the Bears can play as electrifying as the Ravens did last night, but still lose, would you still be happy with the result of the Bears tonight?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100% I would be happy. Just because if we're putting up 38 points and we lose 40-38, I would definitely be happy. I I would not be mad, especially just seeing Ben Johnson's progress. It would show he's got this offense going in the right direction, especially week one. You do that week one, I don't know how you can not be happy because it can only, go up from there. I would definitely take it. Yes, the loss would hurt. I'd rather win any day of the week. But as far as the progress goes of the first year, Ben Johnson said it this week too. The whole thing this year is about instilling their culture and how they want to play football going forward. And I think that is a very good foundation to set. And like he said too, he wants Caleb to go win the game. When asked what does he want to see from Caleb, and he one-liner, I want to see him win the game, and he smiled. He wants to win too, but at the same time, he's going to instill this culture going forward for years to come of what Bears football is. Enough of this, oh my God, we'll get the next first-round pick next year. It's always our year next year. I'm personally tired too of getting myself so excited in the offseason just to get let down in the regular season. And this year, I've kind of dialed it back. I used to be, I think I even said it one time when Justin Fields was here that we were going to go to the playoffs. And I just got to stop getting my hopes up and wait to see some results. And that's what I'm looking forward to tonight. If it is a close loss, but it is, a shootout type of game, obviously I'll have my concerns for the defense, especially because of J.J. McCarthy being back there and pretty much only having Justin Jefferson. I will have some huge concerns for the defense. But offensively, if, they're driving the ball down the field, I would definitely take those results because, one, it's going to show Caleb's understanding the offense and the game plan. And then, two, like I said, it just shows Ben Johnson's got everything going in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm fired up. I can't tell you how fired up I am. I think we covered the ones, we covered the twos. I think we should probably skip over now to the other side of the ball, the defense. I know you covered some of the injury reports. We talked about some players there. But let's just go down through the line. I mean, let's start with Montez Sweat, our highest paid D end. Does he perform? With Grady Jarrett on the line now, Gervon Dexter improved. He came in, in better shape. Montez Sweat.
Yeah, Montez Sweat needs to play good. There's no, what do I think? I think this man needs to go out there and show what he showed that first year when we traded for him halfway through the season. That's the Montez Sweat we need to see. The last year's Montez Sweat, and like we touched on in previous episodes, he was dealing with, that shin injury all season long and kind of battling it. Never was 100%. But I've heard he's had a great training camp. Nothing to complain about, and he's been electric. So let's start seeing that because we paid this guy a lot of money. So definitely there's no question he doesn't get any excuses. Go play a good game. At least one sack.
Got a question for you. What round was Montez Sweat drafted in?
I couldn't even tell you.
This was going to shock you.
The Commanders drafted him. If you're saying that, I'll probably say 4th round.
First round overall in the 2019 draft.
First pick?
First round.
Oh, okay.
26 overall.
I mean, don't surprise me then. When you were saying what surprised me, I would think they got him later and he was kind of a steal. We got to give Montez Sweat some slack here.
Mm-hmm.
The first season he was here, he had 6 sacks with Washington, 7 sacks with the Bears, 13 in one season. Last year, yes, it was a terrible – I think he had 5.5 sacks last year. It was not good. But like I said, with the injury he was dealing with, and kind of like we said, once we lost Andrew Billings last year, we didn't have a D-line that was ready to go and help generate pressure from other ways. So Montez Sweat was getting the double and triple teams, getting chipped in the passing game as he was trying to rush. But now, like you just brought up with Grady Jarrett there, and Gervon Dexter is another player who's flying highly under the radar, but all I've heard are good things about him having a great training camp. I think with just them two alone and Andrew Billings in there and then Montez Sweat, I think that side of the D-line can go have a massive impact in some of these games. Now, the one question, like we touched on many times, it's Dio Adengbo. This guy has got to show up some way. And it honestly hurts me that Austin Booker is on IR because with the preseason he's had and what we saw from Dio Adengbo in that Chiefs game, I'd let Austin Booker go start. Ryan Poles is probably going to have to cut the loss on this one. Yeah, we paid this guy a lot of money, but until he shows any sign of success, like he wasn't even getting QB hurries, rushes, just straight up one-on-one losing, not generating any pressure. If that's what we're going to expect all year and all we're going to see, Ryan Poles is just going to have to take the L on this one, eat the money. It sucks, but let Austin Booker go, because one thing I can say about Austin Booker, he may not get to the quarterback every time, but one thing that stands out about him is his effort. He's always running to the ball, even if it's on the other side of the field. He's chasing people down. His effort, I'll take any day of the week a guy going 110% over a guy that can just never win a matchup, because it doesn't look like he's really doing anything different.
Yeah. I think Dexter, I saw that opening shot when training camp opened up and he's coming in, looked really, really fit compared to when he was drafted. By the way, do you know what round he was drafted in?
Yeah, Jervon is a second rounder.
Second rounder. Yep. So we got a first rounder and a second rounder on the D line, right? Grady Jarrett, proven commodity.
Yeah.
He was a fifth rounder, but he's a proven commodity, right?
Yeah.
The Falcons developed him, brought him in, made him what he is. Obviously, he's proven talent, so we got him on our line. And his swagger is something else. I mean, he's got great swagger. So I think our D line, if you look on paper, right, and you're right about Ramalama Ding Dong, what that's going to look like, I'm not sure exactly. Hopefully he brings what he was paid. But I think Montez has a year, right? I think he's got two people beside him basically. That are going to help him out and make him better, or at least help him be able to do what he is paid to do. And we already talked about it in previous episodes. I mean, he is like a top 10 paid D end. So we should get top 10 D end results out of him. And I think we will. I think, he's a good offseason. I think he's buying into the culture, especially under, Ben Johnson, but, as well as Dennis Allen and what they're wanting to bring. So it'll be good, I think, on that D line.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little lower on the D-line. I need to see it first. We haven't, outside of Austin Booker, which was against backups, no discredit to him. He still went out there and did his job. But even in that Chiefs game, our D-line looked non-existent. I mean, there was a couple of times we got to Patrick Mahomes, and granted, it was a limited amount of snaps. That's not over a whole game. But we did get to Mahomes a couple of times, just weren't able to actually complete the sack. But I just need to see more out of the D-line before I start giving them the benefit of the doubt.
We're going to see it.
Just like, the O-line in preseason, we saw plenty of times with that starters, a clean pocket. Caleb had plenty of time to throw. Like, that's positive. I haven't seen anything real positive out of the D-line. And granted, same thing as Joe Tooney. Grady Jarrett wasn't out there, so that's a big difference maker. I think Jervon was even hurt one of the games and didn't really get to play that much. So we haven't got to see them all together, but I need to see results first before, I kind of, get my hopes up about anything, because kind of like the Bears did, the Vikings did the same thing. They beefed up their interior and D-line. They did a little bit of a similar route of just beefing them up. I think, the Bears kind of won the O-line side of it, where I would say the Vikings won the defensive side of it. I know they brought in Hargrave and they brought in one other pretty good D lineman in there, but I just think this D line has got to show something, especially is what we're seeing, with the division games there, say with the Lions and Packers, especially the Packers. Jordan Love was pretty much sitting back there all day. Aiden Hutchinson didn't touch Jordan Love once. I don't think Jordan Love I think he took one sack yesterday, and that was it. But outside of that, he was sitting pretty clean in that pocket for the majority part. And we know how Detroit's defense was. I mean, at least how they were in the years prior with Aaron Glenn. Now it's a little bit different, but we're going to need this defensive line in some of these games, and especially with Dennis Allen running a lot of man. It's kind of like I said, man's amazing when you kind of get a little bit of pressure. You don't even have to get a sack, but the hurries where they got to release the ball before they're about to get hit. that type of stuff. If a quarterback has a clean pocket, and same thing goes for tonight. If we see J.J. McCarthy sitting back there all day, we're going to get beat, and we're going to get beat bad down with these passing plays, because you cannot expect a DB to run with a receiver for 5 seconds while they're just cutting in and out and you're just chasing them. It's not going to happen like that. So we need pressure, and I think in the beginning of the game, I think Dennis Allen is going to do a lot of seeing what they can do, and then after that, you're going to see those exotic blitzes and see what he needs to do to make sure that pressure is there. So definitely excited. I say we can hop into our last thing. Let's just go. You give your final game predictions. Let's do this. Let's do game prediction, score prediction, Caleb Williams stat line, offensive MVP outside of Caleb, and a defensive MVP.
Bears win, because I predicted the first episode 15-2, so they got to win. And we already know which my 2 losses are, I think, for the year. Although that may change after watching football this weekend. Not the overall record of 15-2. So the Bears win. Caleb, I'm going to go over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Completions? How many attempts? How many completions?
I'm going to go completion percentage, just to make it easier for me and for you, because I'll let you get into the weeds on that. I will go with the Ben Johnson challenge of a 70% completion. I think offensive player of the game, is that who you want?
Yep. Outside of Caleb. It cannot be Caleb.
I'm going to go Colston Loveland shows up. I think it's his debut, right? He's going against J.J. McCarthy, his old teammate from Michigan, go blue. And we'll see why we drafted him first. And I think Colston's got something to prove, right? The players watch the games. They look at the stat lines. They love sports as much as we do, probably more than we do, because it's their life, right? So he probably saw Tyler Warren's stat lines from yesterday, and he's going to go out and prove while he was drafted over him. So Colston Loveland's going to be my offensive player of the game, so to speak. Defensive side, I got to go to Montez Sweat. I think we talked about the line. We talked about a little bit of the opportunity, but I think there's more upside than what we believe. And I think we see Montez. Micah yesterday, I watched that game pretty closely, and I paid attention to Micah Parsons, I'm sure, as the whole world did as they were watching that game. His motor did not stop. And so I think Montez, back to that form we had the first year with us, I think he records a sack. And so I'm going to put him as my defensive player of the game. And it should be pretty exciting. And it may be one of the most important sacks of the game. And it may be the prevention of them going. But final score, I'm going to go 27-20. Bears win. All
right. I'll hop in. Caleb Williams stat line. Let's start off with this first. I think Caleb's going to be around, I want to say a little 24 for 31 on the attempts, somewhere around that range, mid-20s, maybe higher 20 range. I'll stick with those 24 of 31. 243 yards.
So precise.
2 tutties. No interceptions.
How many sacks? We didn't say sacks.
He's going to take a couple. Listen, I'll go into this real quick and not to run off on the end of the show, but Caleb Williams, we've talked about it. He's a playmaker outside the pocket. He's going to try to make plays when that pressure does come. It's simple. Yes, that's where he's got to understand the different times where he has a chance to get away and throwing the ball away. But the sacks are going to come. I do think they're going to cut down from 68 because 68 is insane. That's a lot of sacks a game to even come close to that again. But I do still think he's going to average 1 or 2 sacks a game, probably a couple in there where he's going to average about 3. But the main thing is staying away from that 68 number, which, like I said, he would need to have games in there where he's getting sacked 4 or 5 times a game, a couple of times to even come close to that. And I don't think that's going to happen, but I still think the sacks are going to – think he's going to be around that 35, 45 range in there with the sacks just because of the playmaker. It happens. You see it with Lamar and you see it with Josh Allen too. They take sacks as well for trying to scramble and get out and do things. Now it's just realizing the moment of when you can do it and when you shouldn't be doing it. But I think he's going to have some rushing yards in there too with those boot actions. I'll say he's going to have around mid-20s, 25, 30 range rushing yards. My offensive MVP. Oh, God, I want to say a lot.
Don't say it.
I want to say it so bad. But I do think this is going to be the Rome Odunze offensive MVP. I think he's going to come off. I think it's pretty clear by training camp that he is our wide receiver one, especially with my logic behind this is especially with, the Brian Flores blitz heavy defense, send a bunch of people at you and let one-on-ones be on the outside. When that pressure does come, as long as Rome has that one-on-one on the outside, I think Caleb's going to throw him the ball up there and Rome's going to make some plays. And unlike we saw in the Chiefs game where Rome dropped one that he should have caught, I think Rome's going to, right his wrong and do it when it actually matters and catch those balls. So I'll go with Rome Odunze, but do not be surprised if Zacchaeus is having a game tonight. My defensive MVP, I'll say this. If he plays, Kyler Gordon's going to be the defensive MVP. He is, he's our Swiss Army knife on the defense. I kind of think of him, I think at least this year we're going to see him kind of like a Taysom Hill where he's doing everything, a lot of everything. Like I said, they already have him playing multiple positions in different packages. And the one, DB of our back seven that's going to be blitzing a lot, it's going to be Kyler Gordon. He does it a lot in the run game, and he does it a lot in the passing game as well. I think Kyler Gordon, if healthy, is going to be our MVP. If he's not playing, give me Jaquan Brisker. First game back, guy's going to be flying around the field. I love me some Jaquan Brisker. So if Kyler Gordon's not playing, I got Jaquan Brisker running around the field, making hits, not even acting like he's got a dozen concussions. But I got Jaquan Brisker, and my final predictions for the game, I'm going Bears 28, Vikings 17. That is my final prediction. The overall MVP of the game, Ben Johnson.
I can get with that.
Yeah. I think Ben Johnson, it's going to be great. I like I said, I'm okay with the loss too, as long as the results are trending in a positive direction. Although, for division's sake and for the playoff sake that we both think the Bears can do this year, this is a game that they need to win. And if they don't win this one, they obviously need to win the other one when we play the Vikings later on in the season. But I think as far as we talked about the article, let's just win tonight and all that stuff. They're not going to remember it. And even if we lose next week against the Lions, they're going to forget about that article already too. And, I will say props to the national media because they haven't really been talking about this story. You've heard bits and pieces of it, but they haven't been really pushing it. So I know I was hard on the national media a couple episodes ago. I will give them their props. It's kind of not really, made it to the big scene as much as the other stuff. So I will give them their props. It's more so of the Chicago media that's been kind of giving it that spotlight at the moment. But win this game, and it's in the past, and no one's going to think twice about it. But why don't everyone, watching, if you made it to this point, give us your predictions, give us your MVPs on both sides of the ball, give us, Caleb Williams' stat line and your game predictions.
Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like.
Yeah. Even just make sure to drop a comment, anything you enjoyed in the video or any different takes you guys have that might not agree with ours. That's what's cool about, being fans of a team. We're all not going to agree the same on different looks of what we may see things. So just be sure to, like, comment, and subscribe as always. And do not forget, we will have another episode after the game with our reactions. And hopefully, they are positive, but even if not, we'll love to hop on, talk about what went wrong, what went right, and get ready for the following week. So that will do it for this episode. But in the meantime, bear down.